All right, hello. I'm Reid and my co-host Abby Fall.
Ah,
Uh, Today on Podography 262, we'll be discussing the impact of hurricanes in the coastal South. So, Abby, hurricanes, love them or hate them?
oh, definitely hate them, Reid. They're atrocious. The,
Yeah.
the damage that they cause to the environment, to our economy, to our cultural lifestyle is just unhuman.
You think this natural occurrence is something that we have to deal with? Like, why should we be living there in the first place?
Well, I definitely think that we can have better precautions in place for those who do choose to live there. It is a free country. We can choose to live wherever we would like, even if that is dangerous to our living.
And these precautions, who do you think should be in charge of them?
Well, the government, of course. They are there to protect us. They need to rebuild our cities after they're destroyed. They need to lower the policy costs that the insurance companies offer us. They need to be there all the time.
But like you said, this is a free country. What if I don't necessarily want to leave my beautiful summer home in beautiful Miami, Florida?
Well, that's your choice if you don't want to leave, but then you're going to have to suffer the physical effects of a hurricane that's going to strike your home.
Okay. So let's move on to taxes then. Do you think that people in the coastal South should have to pay more because their taxes are going to have to cover the damages from these hurricanes?
I think that no matter where you live in the country, you're going to have to be a part of a natural disaster. In the north, there's blizzards. On the west coast, there's earthquakes. On the east coast, there's hurricanes. No matter where you live, you're going to be susceptible to a natural disaster. So I think that the taxes should be equal throughout the country. The taxes should be raised to pay for the effects of a hurricane, but they should be distributed equally throughout the homeowners, the landowners, the business owners of the country.
So you think a small town farmer has to pay higher taxes so that some millionaire in the coastal South can have his mansion rebuilt?
Well, don't we pay taxes in order to give them crop subsidies? If their crop fails, then we have to pay for it.
Okay, excellent point. So you don't think that the people in the coastal South should have to pay any more than anyone else to cover the insurance costs that their houses require?
Well, they'll have to pay higher taxes just along with the rest of the country. When a natural disaster occurs anywhere in our country, we need to band together as the United States of America and look after our neighbor, whether they live in Florida and we live in Montana. We need to be there to support them. That's what we do with other countries when they receive damage from other natural disasters. We go to their aid. Why can't we go to the aid of our fellow Americans?
Okay. So let's move on to houses. Do you think that the houses that are built there should have specific government mandates so that they aren't going to be blown over every single time that a Category 3 or greater hurricane comes into town?
If you're going to place a government mandate on house buildings or businesses, then you're going to have to give some kind of government subsidy to be able to help the middle class working man from the cost of what that's going to take, because that's not going to be cheap.
Well, you have a good point there. I think it'd be really tough to get enough money to have all the houses be hurricane ready. So you still think that all the country should have to pay for those houses in these beautiful tropical vacation homes?
Well, there are a lot of cost-effective alternatives that can help protect buildings and homes. Plywood added to the siding of a house, garage door braces, and storm panels can be installed at any time to protect a house from these types of damages. It doesn't have to be over-the-top prices to make these houses ready year-round for the type of damage that can come from hurricanes.
Okay, how do you feel about this? How about for every house that gets blown over, rather than putting up the exact same one that's likely to get blown over again, instead we just put up pure concrete houses so that the wind can't move that an inch?
Well, that would certainly be safer. What a But would it be cost effective to put up concrete houses versus steel houses?
Well, concrete would probably be cheaper than steel. It's just if we put up wood houses in the coastal South, those are not going to last real long when you get your Katrinas or your Andrews or whatever tropical storm comes in and shows you what's up.
Well, whatever type of protection that these houses are going to need, they're going to need to be aided by the government.
Okay. All right, we're going to take our first break here. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. This Sunday, the Superdome is hosting a monster truck rally featuring the trucks Katrina, Gravedigger, Andrew, and Ike. You don't want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime event featuring the best monster trucks the coastal South has seen in the past decade. Kids get in for just $5. Event starts at 5 p.m. Sunday.
All right, welcome back to Podography 262. We are still talking about hurricanes in the coastal South and what should be done to survive these. Speaking of surviving, what do you think the older population or the retired people in the coastal South should have in the involvement of the hurricanes?
Well, it's the government's responsibility to take care of the people who aren't able to evacuate themselves in the case of an emergency.
The government already has their hands full, though, trying to get everyone else evacuated. Don't you think it just makes their job tenfold as difficult, though, if they have to wheel out every old person?
Well, evacuating a large city is always difficult. There's limited access when roads are down, bridges have been broken, there's people running out of gas in their cars. It's never a clean evacuation when you have just a few days' notice trying to get hundreds of thousands of people out of these bad situations. No matter if they are fully able-bodied, have a car, have access to transportation out of the city, or if they're rely on caretakers and they're in the nursing home. Doesn't matter. We have a responsibility to these people no matter what their condition of life.
But if they require this much help, why shouldn't we just make it so the taxes for these older folks is higher so that maybe they can't afford to live down there, where they become a nuisance, really, for the rest of us?
Well, I think, like I said earlier, natural disasters occur anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, really. You're going to have to deal with people who aren't able to take care of themselves in any kind of situation, no matter where you're living in the country, whether it's an earthquake or blizzard. Hurricanes are no different.
Right, but a hurricane is quite a lot more catastrophic than, say, a blizzard that we experience here in the Midwest, or maybe a heat wave that someone in Arizona would experience. So why wouldn't we just say, if you want to go to a warmer location, go to Arizona?
Well, that comes back to freedom in America. We should have the freedom to choose wherever we would like to live, and we should be able to rely on the government to protect us from the dangers of the natural world, no matter if we are able-bodied or not. For a time in these people's lives, they were tax-paying citizens. They were the backbone of America. And now they are just trying to enjoy beautiful Florida during their retirement. And they should not be banished to Arizona just because of the dangers. If they want to endanger their lives to live in Florida, then so be it.
Okay.
My question for you now, Reid, is after the hurricane has done its damage, who is responsible for the cleanup?
I think the people responsible for the cleanup are the same people that live there. I feel like the community should come together and clean it up. I don't feel like the government should necessarily have to come in and take care of that, because as the people living there, it's basically your home, your community, so you should have to go in and clean up all of the damage that is done.
So you think these people are supposed to fund this project on their own? They're just supposed to pay out-of-pocket costs to rebuild billions of dollars of damage.
Well, it just comes with the cost of living. For us that live up here, we pay more for getting our snow plowed or other things like that. So for them, just like getting their snow plowed, they have to clear their streets of debris after these large hurricanes come through.
But don't you think that the cost of running a snowplow for a few months a year is less than the $25 billion that Hurricane Katrina incurred?
I mean, if we added up all the cost of snowplows throughout the entire Midwest and upper Northwest here in the U.S., we would have pretty good numbers, maybe not quite 25 billion like it is to clean up after these huge hurricanes. But it's still a substantial amount of money that we have to pay to clear our roads so we can get to our jobs and our schools and everything else.
But don't you feel that here in North Dakota, for example, that we are doing quite well in our economy, that we can handle these such costs that come with the dangers of living in this area? We accept that we are going to have maybe 3 feet of snow overnight, and we understand that we're going to have to pay for those snowplows, for those men to work all through the night to clear our driveways.
But just because our government up here in, say, North Dakota has their things together and we aren't running out of money because we have a government that doesn't spend a whole lot, but we get a lot because we have excellent things such as our agriculture and oil industries. So why should we have to take the money that we earn and send it down south to clean up for these hurricanes where if people didn't live there in such dense populations, it wouldn't be an issue?
Because this is America. We support the freedom to live wherever you choose to live and to accept the dangers, and we will support you. Maybe 10 years from now, the oil will dry up and North Dakota will not be in such a good position in the economy. We could be in a recession in 10 years, and maybe Florida. If the roles were reversed and we could not pay the men to plow the snow from our driveways, wouldn't you want the rest of your fellow Americans to aid you?
Who says I wouldn't just move north to Canada, eh?
Well, then you would have free health care.
All right. On that note, let's move to Katrina, the biggest catastrophe that's happened to the coastal South, pretty much of all time. There are many different things that led to it being such a horrible catastrophe, such as levees breaking, poor communication, and as well as the large amount of lives that were lost, all in this one storm that passed through.
A storm like Katrina is certainly a tragedy, and it's one that is unavoidable no matter what precautions that you take. The government did everything in its ability to help prevent damage to structural buildings, to help evacuate as quickly and as orderly as is possible with a city of this size, and to help reduce the lives lost in the aftermath of Katrina.
Quickly and effectively, the death toll was 1,800 people. I don't think that would be exactly effective.
When you're looking at a Category 5 hurricane, you're going to see some loss of life.
Right, but in the past, none of them, unless you go back 100 years, or maybe not quite so much, the lives lost were great then, but we figured out ways to detect the hurricanes and get people out. So why was Katrina so much worse than many other hurricanes that were Category 5 that have passed through?
Do I look like a weather specialist? It has something to do with high and low pressures. All we are trying to focus on is preparing these people the best way that we can. We opened up the Superdome so that tens of thousands of people could seek refuge in this hurricane-proof building.
Okay, but I feel like FEMA kind of botched it all there. Do you want to defend FEMA there?
FEMA, as a part of the government, I found a new role in the Defense of Homeland Security. Just 2 years prior, they are were still moving things around. Michael Brown was just not experienced enough of a director of FEMA at the time. It was an unfortunate occurrence that we weren't able to get as much assistance as quickly as we needed to, but now with communication lines open up, Katrina was 7 years ago. We have learned from our mistakes, and we understand that all branches of government need to communicate with one another. The military police needs to be able to mobilize themselves at the very sign of any type of emergency, whether it's a hurricane, an earthquake, or terrorist attacks. Cell phones have definitely helped this cause.
So, on a final note, Coastal South, would you choose to live there or not, Abby?
Florida is a beautiful place. I love Disney World. Yes.
You would choose to live there?
Freedom.
I personally will take the cold over hurricanes. All right, this has been Podography 262. Thank you for listening.